Welcome to the New World, New Employee Safety Culture Webcast Series, where we'll be tackling issues such as workforce retention, service delivery, brand reputation, technology implementation, and more. Today's episode will focus on understanding the new employee safety culture, and joining us today is Jay Reed. He was part of the successful growth of Aimbridge Hospitality. And besides his most recent efforts leading Aimbridge Hospitality, Jay was the CIO for Omni Hotels Resorts. He was the second command at Trammell Crow and was at Wyndham International for 10 plus years. Welcome, Jay Reed. Thank you for being here with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rob. Look forward to conversing.
Well, Jay, let's kick things off. Would really like to get your thoughts and understand how technology is defining hospitality's new normal as we roll in, into recovery and post-pandemic.
Thanks, Rob. Well, there's a number of technologies that are in you hear about out there in our hospitality world. Obviously, temperature checks and scanning and the tracking of that. Number of solution providers in that space. Contact tracing, you hear that some. I've seen several surveys and discussions about that. Germany and Italy both are testing that on the government side. There's some privacy issues with that, but that is another technology that's out there. But more related to hospitality and within the hotels, contactless payments. We've all had the chip and pin EMV solution that's been out there, but not everybody has rolled that out. Again, that is a solution that doesn't require a credit card being handled between the front desk and the guest. And that's continuing to be rolled out. But there's also contactless payments where you're doing it online through your mobile side instead of having to do the credit card itself. Digital mobile key, another solution that's the brands have been defining as a key standard, and those have been rolling out pre-COVID. The expectation is that there'll be probably a greater interest in that post-pandemic. Self-service check-in, so the whole workflow of checking into a hotel where you don't have to interact with the front desk and you're doing it all through your phone all the way to getting into the room with the mobile key, et cetera. Mobile guest entertainment, another key contactless type solution, was already moving down that path. People taking Netflix and casting that up to your TV. That's getting further enhanced where people may not want to have a mobile app on their phone. They can go through QR codes and bring that up and manage the content on their TV, and then in turn can get into managing lights and the energy in the room and air conditioning, et cetera. All that's cool, nice technology that's coming. It all has cost. But if you've already got that implemented, guests you'll probably see a higher usage of that. And then lastly, really digital two-way messaging. How do you communicate with the guests if they're going straight to the room? Is there some ways that some technologies out there to take advantage of that? Again, many of these technologies are all optional for guests coming in. It's really, what does the guest really want? What do they want? What do they need? Much of it is tied to the brand loyalty programs, especially like the mobile key, for instance. But it's got to work for the guest. Adoption is really the big question. Up into COVID-19, there was limited adoption on mobile key, but we believe it will continue to grow. Again, the interest really is in the safety of the traveler and the guest. And really what's driving all the COVID-19 side is not so much the technology as it is the training, the education that's needed, and the cleaning processes and procedures. AHLA define kind of the standards for the industry, and all the brands have branded a cleaning program for each of those, and those have all been rolled out to really instill confidence not only for the guests but in the hoteliers related to the cleanliness and safeness there that they've got at the hotel, the temperature checks, the wearing of the mask. And I'll conclude by just adding that HT&G and AHLA, two really prominent groups affiliated with the hospitality industry, will be publishing kind of a list of a lot of these technology solution providers out there that have solutions that help address some of this COVID-19 post after the fact. So
Absolutely, some very real safety concerns amongst travelers and employees. Definitely the AHLA and HTNG are wonderful resources that stay up to date on all of these cleanliness initiatives and things that are really boosting consumer confidence and getting travelers back and into hotels.
Absolutely.
A lot of talk is about increasing consumer confidence, but there are so many people out there who are on the other side of the fence, the employees who are putting themselves in harm's way to be part of this service industry, to be part of our hospitality industry. Could you define, the new employee safety culture, from where you're sitting? Do workers really want to come back to work today? Why and perhaps why not?
Well, I mean, obviously the government's come out with great benefits for folks that make it. Well, are they going to make more money just staying home versus coming into work? That combined with those that have children and may have daycare issues, that is an issue. And you tap on top of that the medical concerns around COVID-19 and some of the concerns around these protests that have gone on. There are lots of some deterrents there for folks coming back. However, I think all the cleaning and safety training and programs that the hotels are building as part of their onboarding program, the temperature scanning, the mandatory masks that they wear that I mentioned earlier, these really enhanced cleaning procedures across the whole industry that are consistent, I think really help build that confidence when they are ready to come back. I think one change that's happening, I mean, I'm a technology guy, not an operations guy, but I know operationally the housekeeping side will be done, at least initially, and maybe permanent, is more the cleaning will be per stay instead of per day. So, when you're coming to stay in a hotel, to reduce that contact, you won't have somebody cleaning your room. If you request it, of course they'll come, but the intent is that there's less contact. So because of that, you're gonna that's kind of a change you're gonna see operationally, I believe, that helps add additional safety for housekeeping because there's less opportunity for interaction there. The contactless technologies I mentioned before, again, as those become more prominent, it's less interaction, which helps promote safety. But again, you still, the one thing I will add is the alert devices that React Mobile has done such a good job of deploying and producing a solution. For those hotels that have that deployed already, it's a great means of adding additional alerting so that with, whether it be the protests or whether it be medical situations on top of the normal aspects around sexual harassment, et cetera, it does give you some additional means of adding safety to those employees that are at the hotel.
Well, thank you for that. And as we start to think about, hotels reopening, I mean, that really is the goal right now. How do we get hotels back open? How do we get travelers back on the road and boost their confidence? And in many ways, it's a hotelier's job to be frugal and to really manage, their operating expenses. How do we as technologists get hoteliers on board with safety protocols post-pandemic?
Post-pandemic, again, AHLA in 2018 defined the five-star promise, really focused on employee safety, and they've done a great job of getting that rolled out. I would say 4 of the 5 stars are done. I mean, the whole concept of the processes and the training, and then the national organization partnerships that they've got with, to end sexual violence and the child prostitution and trafficking and all that. All that has been put in place as part of that program that was announced in 2018. The last piece of the puzzle is really this 5th of getting the alert devices rolled out, and many have already moved forward to get that in place, which is great. I think that today, as funding becomes more readily available, you'll see that happening. However, there are some definite reasons why you really want to be looking at that now versus later. Even though I know there's cash issues at the hotels, you've got lower occupancy. With lower occupancy, it's going to make it much easier and quicker to implement these devices. The solution providers, React Mobile, others, have discounted rates because they recognize that hoteliers are having some challenges on cash. So there's some value in taking advantage of those discounts. And then the deadlines that, there's two kind of deadlines that are driving this safety commitment, this promise. And that one is the local jurisdictions that have created laws that say you need to have it done. I know your home city of Seattle has one that's remained very definitive, and so people need to be getting that done. And most hotels have all met those deadlines, but there's still some other jurisdictions that are still out there. Illinois, for instance, just moved theirs back from June 30th to March 1st. But the brands had defined their deadlines for the end of this year. I would imagine they'll probably move that some. But regardless, those deadlines are out there. And if you wait to get it done, then you'll be like everybody else. And if you wait to the end, then you're going to be stuck with probably more costs and may have issues and risks in meeting the deadlines that need to happen. Plus, just in general, it's the right thing to do, this employee safety. One thing I like to point out or use kind of as a comparison, I remember many years ago, adult content was something that we as hoteliers, we had out there, and we made a lot of revenue. I don't say a lot, but we made revenue in the hotels from that adult content. And then the brands kind of said, hey, wait a minute, is that really what we want in our hotels for families, et cetera? And so that's gone away. Yes, they forego that revenue, but it was the right thing to do. And just as this employee safety, while it does have some cost, and it's not really good cost right now given the pandemic, it is the right thing to do. And I like to look at that as that's our industry. I take a lot of pride in the fact that we did that with the adult content and that we're doing this for these devices and to really look at the safety of our employees and the guests for that matter.
Well, thank you for sharing all of that. I think getting a safety solution in place, especially today, definitely sends the right message to employees and helps hotels attract and retain talent. Why are employee safety devices so critical in today's new world, even more than they were perhaps before this pandemic hit?
Well, I alluded a little bit to the housekeeping situation where the cleaning of hotels will be more per stay versus per day. I think because of that, you'll probably have fewer housekeepers, at least initially, and as it rolls out, it'll grow. But there is, there's a lot cost around onboarding the housekeepers and all this new training that's going on. It's going to be quite an investment into those employees. So retaining and keeping the housekeeping employees is going to be important and have a cost if you don't do that. And they're probably going to be in rooms longer, so they have a longer duration of time frame that they're having to work, which again, the risk of the challenges of safety goes higher as you extend the amount of time they're in that room. So again, add that plus the fact that it's just the right thing to do, as I mentioned earlier, and the burden from these medical situations and being able to help track that. And again, protests, if those continue and they go to the room level or within the hotel. Again, all good reasons why we need to be looking at this more full force. It's more than just the 5-star. It's really getting into this new change in the way we're going to be operating and cleaning hotels.
Well, there you have it. Jay Reed, thank you so much for your insight today, Jay. We really covered a lot of ground here. How technology is defining hospitality, post-pandemic, what hotels are doing to attract and retain top talent and to boost consumer confidence to get travelers back on the road and back into some of these amazing hotels. Jay, thank you so much for your time, your insight, and for joining us today on today's very first episode of this webcast series.
Absolutely. Very flattered to be the first. Appreciate it.